news. One of you not my son. I took DNA tests. Get your brother.
Dad, what?
Danny, come here.
What's this? One of us is not your son.
Which one is it?
How, Dad? Talk to me.
On our next call, our caller was shocked to find out that his dad was not his dad. Stay tuned to learn more.
Maury.
I found out that my dad isn't my real dad.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, how did you find out?
We were just, the family got together, we wanted to figure out our lineage, and then got the results, and there was a different name in the father column than what my dad's name was.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a shocker. Sometimes you get the typos, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
You can live with that, but different dad on the birth certificate is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Do you think that your parents knew? Did they have any suspicions? How did your parents react?
The guy that raised me, my dad, he had no idea, and my bio dad had no idea either.
So let me ask him. This may be a basic question, but you're for sure you know who the real dad is. This wasn't, and when I said typo, I said that because it is not uncommon in a country of 350 million people that an overworked staffer in a hospital puts the wrong name on a birth certificate. It actually happens every single day. Are we for sure? I mean, you guys look alike. You got the same little quirks. Did you do the 23andMe said it's not your dad. Your dad is not your dad. Your bio dad is your dad for sure?
Correct.
Wow.
Okay.
I look exactly like him, which is crazy. And I do know the guy that raised me. He's been in my life for a long time.
Now, Vince, you're a guy that we could use a 23andMe for. What is your ethnicity?
Filipino.
Okay.
Actually, but for a long time, I really wanted my father to be Lou Diamond Phillips.
Who wouldn't?
Exactly, right? So let me ask you this. The caller, what's his name again?
Loki.
Loki. All right.
Adopted
Loki.
Norse god.
I think what you should look into is to find out who has the higher net worth. Your biological dad or the guy that raised you.
We live in Oklahoma, so net worth isn't really an issue here.
So they're both poor. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, we're pretty white trash, Bubba.
There was a small chance that they were Native Americans and they owned a casino. That could have small chance.
There you go. So I would definitely advise you to keep looking.
Well, I grew up believing I was Native American, and actually I'm a quarter Italian now. So there's that.
See, that's what I hate about ancestry and 23andMe. For a long time, my wife thought she was Cherokee. Turned out she was Nigerian.
Oh, that's a
yeah. I'm like, it's totally two different continents.
very
man.
different.
Yowza.
Yeah.
Hey,
I thought we had native rights.
Nothing. And he has even less rights now that he's Italian. I mean, he's going to get a discount on pizza, and that's about it.
At least you know your wife is definitely not racist.
Oh, definitely. Now I know I can buy land in Africa.
Hey,
Hell
there you
yeah.
go.
So, caller, I've heard something in what you said. So you're saying that neither of your fathers knew, but your mom did?
Well, I mean, she kind of had to, right?
How did that affect your relationship with your mom, that she was just kind of playing this on the down low for...
I haven't spoken to her since the day I found out and told her. And this actually damaged the relationship that me and the guy that raised me, my dad, had.
Yeah.
Because if I'm putting all the pieces here together, is your mom knew, put the correct name on the birth certificate, but did not tell your dad, your practical dad, who she was with at the time.
I think you're misunderstanding what happened. So she slept with her best friend's boyfriend and got pregnant, knew she was pregnant, then tricked my dad into thinking he had a kid with her and put his name on the birth certificate.
Gotcha.
And this other guy, his name showed up on the 23andMe.
So what's the relationship currently of your mom and the guy who raised you? How's that going?
Oh, they've been divorced since I was 7 years old, and they had a tumultuous divorce.
So I'm guessing here you're trying to have us help you unpack all the legal situations that this presents, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have a relationship with any of them. The guy that's my bio dad kind of ignores me. Doesn't they know it's real. Yeah, he doesn't believe it's real. So is there any thing that I have towards his estate or anything like that? Any, if there is, whenever he dies, or
Yeah.
So yeah, let me dive in on the legal side on that. So the strongest part of all this, right? I'll remember all of these inheritance laws and everything all came around well before 23andMe. So the best guess you had was looking and going, that's not my chin or whatever, to figure out if there was a problem, right? And so a lot of these laws are based on the idea that you're gonna most likely know, but sometimes you might not. And so they defer to the biological side. So in Oklahoma, just like most other states, it'll say that if you've got a biological connection to someone, you are going to be able to have inheritance from them outside of some exceptions. The bigger issue of this is going to be that if he has a will. Now, that's not something you could control, whether you knew he was your biological dad from the beginning or not. We've had, even just on this show alone, we've had a number of calls from folks who are like, wow, I got all the inheritance and my sister didn't, or I didn't get any of the inheritance and my crazy stepmom got it all. Yeah. But the law generally, outside of some fraud or some other issues like that or capacity, says that if you were the person that is supposed to be inheriting as the child, then you would be the next one in line. That being said, Oklahoma is one of the states where if his parents are alive, they would actually be in line before you, or if he is married, that spouse would be in line before you, but you would still be in the chain of inheritance. The bigger question is going to be whether or not your practical dad, the man who raised you and who you consider to be a dad, is you're going to have any claim on that front. And it cuts exactly the same way. So you don't have a birth certificate, and you do not have paternity.
He does have.
Sorry. You have a birth certificate that has not been disproved by the paternity. So
it's disproved. But did he submit his 23andMe anywhere?
So what he can do is, if your practical father dies without a will, you will have to overcome any other challengers who would say you are not really the son.
Yeah.
This is not, unfortunately, Oklahoma courts have not really dealt with this issue, but other states have. Their laws are a little bit different. It's just from a population standpoint, right? California has a lot more of these cases, New York, Texas, Florida. But really what it comes down to is, since you have the actual birth certificate, you're going to be in line, but it still comes down to if there's a will or not. So your practical dad can make the decision, just like he could decide, you know what, I'm going to give it to Serena Williams because I love the way she plays tennis.
I have a question that I don't think Bill will know. He might. The question is, if his practical father died without any other children, and he was the birth certificate child that had never been challenged officially during the life of the father, could some family member of lower degree of relationship challenge his status if they didn't get it before?
Could. So two answers. One, if there's no one challenging, then from the standard paperwork that gets filed inside of a probate, you're not going to have an issue.
Yeah.
If someone of a different degree of sanguinity,
a cousin,
blood relation, who would have had a lesser claim, so they're further down the tier from you, they would be able to come in and challenge it and say, this is not actually the son, this was committed by fraud. And then where it's really going to get messy is, who was the one that committed the fraud? It wasn't you.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't bio dad.
Nope.
It wasn't practical dad.
It's divorcee.
It was divorcee.
Yeah.
And so we've seen these issues get litigated, and the vast majority of them get resolved. And the reason why they get resolved is because most of the time folks don't have the money to fight this kind of stuff, or there's not much to fight over. But it's going to be a bigger question. I don't have a really good answer for that.
Does your practical father have other kids and or brothers and sisters?
Yes, he does.
How many?
He has two sons. One was my half brother, which is now not my brother, and then one was my full brother, which is now my half brother.
Can I ask you something, Loki?
Yeah, absolutely, Bubba.
Yeah, how old are you?
41 now.
You're 41,
Mm-hmm.
and you want, what do you want from your biological father? Inheritance?
Not at all. I just, honestly, the only thing that I want from him is just the family history, lineage, that type of stuff.
I'm about to say, because you're like my worst fear. No, because back in the day, I donated a lot of semen. which is a nice way of saying
To a
I used be-
sperm bank, or
no,
just
I used to be a
in the,
whore.
in the streets? Okay.
Yeah, to the streets. Yes. And I just don't want somebody later on down 20 years from now or 30 years from now be like, you know what, you're my biological father. I thought it was monetary, financial thing, but no, that makes sense if you want to know about your health history and all that.
There's also like
that makes a lot of sense.
I think the real victim here. I mean, caller, this is a sad situation for you, and I really feel for what you've gone through. But I also feel like the guy who raised you, man, that's got to be that's like a slap in the face, because that means that the woman that you were with for a period of time, it was all a lie, and then the child that you cared about, that's tough. That is tough. This feels like a Maury episode, honestly. This isn't even.
I have a follow-up legal question regarding that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let me first give you just a little bit more clarity on that first question. So specifically in Oklahoma, Title 84 of the Inheritance Code, we just to kind of use a common term on that, says that if you're a child of a non-biological parent, because they have acknowledged you as the child and treated you as the child, then you are, for all intents and purposes, the child. That also includes if they later have said that there's paternity. And the big reason behind that is because courts are generally trying to say, look, if you guys lived your life this way, then let's just treat it that way. It's just like, for example, if you acknowledge paternity, you've paid alimony for years, and then somehow you find out it's not your kid anymore. After some point, they're like, look, you might have been wronged, but like we all got to move on as a society. So you just got to live with it as your kid. So in that sense, you're going to have a much stronger case under the letter of the Oklahoma statutes than someone if it had never been acknowledged, or you had only known him for a year or something like that, and it never really got that far. But clearly he acknowledged the paternity, treated you as a child, held you out to be his child, and so for all intents and purposes, you would fall under that exception for the statute. But what's your next question?
Is there any, like, as a gift to my dad, I would love to be able to like sue my mother for all the child support that he paid for me as a gift back, since it was under fraud that he thought this.
So you are not going to be able to do that, and you're lacking what we call in the law standing. You're not the one that was actually injured, and really you have a derivative injury. You have a second degree injury, which is your relationship is now strained. Your life is harder, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, perhaps even physically ill over what has occurred. He may have a better claim to be able to do that. And that's something that's a little bit more complex, but yeah, I mean the general blanket of that is fraud. But let me just tell you one quick story. The exact same thing that has happened to you right now happened to a close friend of mine, and he found out a year and a half ago, because of a 23andMe, that his sister is not related to him, that his dad, who raised him, was not. And this was a circumstance where the parents had already been divorced for many years, so they had separate relationships, and he chose to just not go with it. His father has since passed away.
Wow.
The father who raised him. And he didn't even have the option to know the biological father. So what I would say here is that even the possibility that you will be able to get some information about your true lineage is at least the barest of comforts in this very hard situation, because a lot of folks who have been in this circumstance, including my very close friend, they just will never know. Their children will never know who their real grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, for good or for bad, and usually that comes down to a medical question. And that's what I would say when you talk to your biological father. He may be trying to avoid or whatnot, but that's the biggest card to play, is for your health, for the health of any children you may have or that you do have. It's important to know the true medical history. We all know, you go to the doctor, they ask you, hey, does your dad have this? Your mom have that? And it's like an episode of House if you don't actually know the players in the game. So I would definitely use that to see if there's just any heart there. And just given how you are as a person and the way you've approached this and dealt with the situation, I would hope that your biological father has at least some shred of the same decency that you have.
And if you're out there at home right now watching Hardly Legal and you think Vince Royale might be your father, just call the number below, because he's been out there in the streets for a very long time.
It's crazy because I've dated several single mothers, and I was a father figure to a lot of their kids. And I'm just glad that it wasn't in Oklahoma.
Wow.
All right, caller, thank you so much for calling in with this story. Do you feel like you got an understanding of your legal situation now? You feel like you were heard?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thanks,
you.
Loki.
If you have a crazy legal story and you want to talk to some lawyers anonymously, for free, call us.
Wait, we're not getting paid?
Nothing at all. I don't know how we're going to pay for it, to be honest.